Ancient, unsolved mysteries.
Where is the Ninth Legion? By the gods, tell me where they are!
The disappearance of the Ninth Legion. One of the most enduring mysteries of Roman Britain is the fate of the Ninth Legion, Legio IX Hispana. For a long time, the legion simply vanishes from the historical record, leading to speculation that it was annihilated in Britain. Recent scholarship and archaeological evidence suggest a convergence of events around AD 122 that point to a major security crisis. The Expeditio Britannica. Emperor Hadrian visited the northwestern provinces, including Britain, between AD 121 and 123. This visit, often termed the Expeditio Britannica, may have been prompted by a severe military disaster rather than a routine inspection. The Hadrianic Fire of London. Archaeological evidence indicates a major fire destroyed parts of Roman London, Londinium, during the Hadrianic period. This destruction might be linked to the same unrest or warfare that occupied the emperor. Halted construction on Hadrian's Wall. There is evidence of a cessation of work at several sites along Hadrian's Wall during this period. This interruption suggests that the army's resources and manpower were urgently diverted elsewhere, possibly to deal with a catastrophic loss or insurrection. Suppression of the event. The lack of clear historical records regarding the Ninth Legion's end suggests the episode may have been ignominious enough to be suppressed by Roman authorities. The convergence of the legion's disappearance, the fire in London, and the disruption of the wall's construction invites the theory that a major, unrecorded war occurred. Clues and theories surrounding the disappearance suggest that the Ninth Legion did not simply transfer away, but was likely destroyed or disbanded due to a catastrophic event in Britain around AD 122. This theory relies on three major archaeological clues, such as the Hadrianic Fire of London. Evidence indicates a massive fire devastated Roman London, Londinium, during the Hadrianic period. This destruction is increasingly linked to a major insurrection or war, rather than an accidental blaze. Excavations have revealed a sudden halt of work at several sites along Hadrian's Wall. This interruption implies that the army's manpower was urgently diverted to deal with a severe security crisis elsewhere in the province. The Emperor Hadrian visited the northwestern provinces, including Britain, between AD 121 and 123. Known as the Expeditio Britannica, theorized to be a direct response to a military disaster, potentially the annihilation of the Ninth Legion, rather than a routine inspection. Actions taken, circa AD 122. The Roman response to the crisis indicates the severity of the crisis being grave enough to warrant the personal presence of Emperor Hadrian to stabilize the province. Troop replacements records suggest that the Sixth Legion, Legio VI Victrix, was brought over from the continent, taking up residence in the Ninth's former fortress at York. The lack of explicit historical records detailing the Ninth's end suggests a deliberate, quote, suppression by Roman authorities to preserve morale and imperial prestige. Researchers continue to investigate this cold case through several methods. Archaeologists are analyzing the timing of the fire in London and the construction halts on Hadrian's Wall to see if they align with the disappearance of the legion. Scholars analyze inscriptions, such as tile stamps found in Nijmegen, Netherlands, and coin hoards to determine if the legion moved to the continent or perished in Britain. While some theories suggested a transfer to the east or the Netherlands, the evidence, fire, wall disruption, imperial visit, has renewed the theory of a major security crisis in Britain. This mystery may never be known. The location of the Colossus of Rhodes built by Rhodians. The Colossus interacts with Roman history, and its location remains a subject of debate. The Colossus of Rhodes is a mystery, not just because of its disappearance, but because of why it was built there. The wrong location. Contrary to the popular medieval image of the statue straddling the harbor, it likely stood high on the Monty Smith Acropolis. The solar anomaly. A strange natural phenomenon may have inspired the location. From the top of Monty Smith, due to the specific geography of the coastline, the sun appears to set in the east, over the mountains of Turkey, rather than the west. This visual oddity likely reinforced the belief that Rhodes was the special home of the sun god Helios, leading to the construction of his massive statue on that specific spot. Lost location. Contrary to medieval imagery, the massive statue of Helios did not straddle the harbor entrance. Modern analysis suggests it likely stood on the Monty Smith Acropolis, the highest point of the city, where it could serve as a lighthouse and be protected from the flooding that plagued the lower city. A second Roman Colossus. An intriguing detail is that after the original Colossus fell in an earthquake, circa 226 BC, the Rhodians erected a second, smaller Colossus, approximately 45 feet tall, on the same Acropolis in 164 BC, dedicated to the Roman people. This was likely a diplomatic gesture to placate Rome after political tensions during the Third Macedonian War. The exact spots for both statues remain unidentified due to centuries of reuse and seismic activity. To think such a thing could just disappear like that is a bit crazy to think about, and this may be another mystery we will never know. Roman chemical warfare. While often associated with modern warfare, the Romans utilized terrifying chemical weapons that caused suffering similar to modern agents. Blinding smoke. Between 82 and 72 BCE, Roman forces used a toxic smoke against the Taracatanes in Spain. This chemical weapon caused, quote, blindness and choking pulmonary symptoms, similar to phosgene gas, allowing the Romans to defeat the enemy in just 2 days. Precursors to Greek fire, the Romans and their Byzantine successors developed liquid incendiary weapons. The ultimate dark mystery of this era is the lost formula for Greek fire, a liquid flame that burned on water and terrified enemies. Its composition, likely involving naphtha and quicklime, was such a closely guarded state secret that it was eventually lost to history.
Faster, you dogs! Get those jars loaded now! We launch at sundown!
The disappearance of Romulus. The death of Rome's legendary founder Romulus is shrouded in myth, presenting two very different accounts of his end. Divine ascension. According to legend, during a public sacrifice, a sudden violent storm descended. When the cloud lifted, Romulus had vanished. The official story, promoted by the patricians, was that he had been taken up to heaven to become the god Quirinus. Senatorial murder, a darker version of the story, current among the common people, alleged that the senators, weary of his increasing arrogance and kingly power, assassinated him during the storm. It was rumored they cut his body into pieces and carried them away, hidden in the folds of their robes. The cover-up, to quell the unrest, a nobleman named Julius Proculus swore an oath that Romulus had appeared to him in a vision, confirming his divinity. This testimony successfully calmed the plebeians, but has been interpreted by historians as a political fabrication to cover up a regicide. The Eleusinian Mysteries, attended by Roman emperors like Hadrian and Marcus Aurelius, centered on a secret ritual that remains one of the ancient world's greatest unsolved puzzles: human sacrifice theory. Some scholars have theorized that the rites may have originally involved human sacrifice, specifically the killing of a maiden to symbolize the abduction and plight of Persephone, the daughter of Demeter. Psychological horror. Ancient accounts describe the initiation not as a lesson, but as a terrifying physical experience involving shivering, trembling, and sweating, followed by a sudden light. The Dark Crypt. Because the rites were secret, punishable by death if revealed, we lack neutral descriptions. However, later Christian authors accused the cult of performing rituals in a dark crypt involving a hierophant and priestess, implying a darker, possibly sexual or theatrical nature to the sacred secrets. One of the most profound mysteries of the ancient world concerns the Eleusinian Mysteries, a secret religious cult dedicated to Demeter and Persephone. While we know the rituals existed for nearly 2 millennia, the core secret of what actually happened inside the Telesterion, the Great Hall, remains unsolved because revealing it was punishable by death. It is widely hypothesized that the intensity of the experience was fueled by kykeon, a potion likely containing ergot, a fungus with LSD-like alkaloids. Archaeological evidence from a temple in Spain revealed ergot fragments in a vase and in the dental calculus of a young man, supporting the theory that drug-induced altered states were central to these rites. Dark side of cults of ancient Rome and Greece, Dionysian raw flesh rituals. The source material lists specific religious practices associated with the worship of Dionysus, Bacchus, that point to the darker side of these mysteries. Omophagia. The practice of eating raw flesh, typically of an animal torn apart by hand, is listed as a specific ritual associated with the cult. Orgia. The ecstatic, often frenzied rites known as orgia were central to the worship of Dionysus. Necromancy and curse tablets. Tabelle de Fictionis. The mysterious death of the Roman general Germanicus reveals the use of dark magic and necromancy among the Roman elite to invoke gods of the underworld for murder. Remains under the floor. When Germanicus fell ill in Antioch, investigators found human remains buried under the floor of his residence. Cursing the soul. Alongside the bones were found lead tablets, Tabelle de Fictionis, inscribed with Germanicus's name and deadly curses. These objects were believed to, quote, consecrate the soul of the victim to the gods of the underworld. Poisoning as magic. In Roman law and culture, the line between poisoning, beneficium, and black magic was blurred. Both were viewed as stealthy crimes often attributed to women or witches using evil spells and drugs, venenum malum. The false cult of Glycon. The Roman author Lucian describes a bizarre mystery cult established by Alexander of Abonoticus, whom he calls a, quote, false prophet. The snake god Alexander proclaimed a new god named Glycon, a talking snake with a human head, actually a puppet. Secret rites. The cult mimicked the Eleusinian mysteries, with 3 days of torchlight ceremonies and, quote, priestly offices. Expulsion and orgy. The rituals began with the expulsion of Christians and Epicureans. Out with the Christians. The rites included a, quote, birth of the god, and public sexual displays, described as kisses and embraces, between the prophet and a married woman in front of her husband. The suicide or murder of Cleopatra. While Cleopatra VII was the queen of Egypt, her death in 30 BC is inextricably linked to Roman history and the end of the Republic. The official Roman narrative claims she committed suicide, but modern scholars and ancient discrepancies leave the exact cause an open question. The asp theory. Popular belief holds that she allowed an asp, Egyptian cobra, to bite her. However, modern experts argue that a large snake would have been difficult to smuggle into her guarded quarters in a basket of figs, and its venom would not have killed her and her 2 handmaidens as quickly as reported. Poison. Ancient historians like Strabo and Plutarch suggested she might have used a toxic ointment or a hollow hairpin to introduce poison, which matches the theory of a rapid, painless death better than a snakebite. The murder hypothesis. Some academics hypothesize that her Roman rival, Octavian, later Augustus, may have ordered her murdered or forced her suicide to prevent her from being a political rallying point. Octavian needed her dead to solidify his control over Egypt, but may have wanted to avoid the stigma of executing a foreign queen.